Well, welcome back to my channel Mispronounced Adventures and my campervan build, and this episode I'm going to be installing Neos smart cameras, which are going to be internal cameras for the van. I've been recommended these by John and Mandy and by Archie and me, which is Pack the Van and Go, who's run by Rob. They both got them in their van, and I can see why. For the price point you pay for them and for the features they come with, I think they're a really great option. So hopefully we're going to get one of those installed today, or both of them, have a look at some of the features and a bit of play around. So let's get these unboxed. Quick lie, I've actually already got one of them in because I don't think I wanted to do it basically half an hour of me faffing around and figuring out how to set it up. And if anyone saw it at the back of the shots, I'm sure they'll point it out in the comments. Right, smart cams. Everyone needs a bread knife to open a box. Unboxing done. Just go. So, box. Sticker, if you want a sticker on your window to say you've got these cameras. Instructions or another man's guide, don't need those. Accessories box. Plug, don't need those. So these cameras are powered by USB. So I guess in a household format you would probably plug them into a wall socket and then have a USB charger sort of power brick. I'm going to be putting them directly into USB ports which run off the 12 volt system, which then steps it down to 5 volt. So I have a ribbon style USB cable, pretty long one from the looks of it, and a magnetic pad and a metal base because the bottom of these cameras are magnetic. And one camera. Quite a small one, so they are square. The base does have a rotation on it and multiple axis of movement, so you can do a ceiling mount, or you could do a shelf mount, or you could have it flat if you wanted it to. And the magnet for the base is hidden away in there. So, anatomy of the camera, the actual camera itself. It's also got an IR ring around it as well, so when it becomes dark it automatically turns on to its nighttime infrared mode. The LEDs are in this black bezel here. You can probably, just after I take the plastic off, see where they are. Underneath we've got a micro SD card slot, I'll talk about that later on. The main button for interaction, the setup button, and on the back we have the micro USB, which is the power in. And then you've got USB-A, which I believe is a power out, so you can then power stuff through the camera. Maybe I could daisy chain the other camera off it, and then I believe that hole is probably a reset button. That's pretty much the anatomy of the camera. There's also a built-in mic and speaker, so it's got two-way audio for communications as well, which is probably the set of holes or something around here. Additionally, for my setup I've purchased 2 SD cards, so I can have the SD card slots filled. Whilst the magnet mount actually feels pretty strong if you mount it like that, one of the mounting systems I'm going to go for is like that, and that's probably not a great system to mount it on. So I bought a little third-party plastic wall mount as well, so I can screw that into my wall and have it mounted there, and there's no chance it's going to slide off. The cab-based one I'm probably just going to use the magnet because it's going to be above it and I'm less worried about it coming off in that direction. But I'll put a link to the actual cameras in my Amazon below, so with an affiliate link, so you can buy those and I can get a few quid. Additionally, I'll put that little mount if anyone wants that as well. So the reason I went for the camera, or this particular brand, is when it's cheap, it's about £24 I paid for it. And more important to me was that it didn't have any subscription fee. Whilst there are other ones similar price and ones a lot more expensive, up to £30, £40, £50, they all seem to have subscription fees and services. Well, this one had no subscription fee. You could pay, I think, £2.50 for a subscription fee, which gave you a few extra features, but for what I want, it has no subscriptions, which is the more important bit. Tech spec wise, it's in 1080p, night vision, two-way audio. You can have motion detection and noise detection. I think if you buy the subscription, you can highlight areas of the camera's field of view, which will set off a recording, or you can just have general detection, I think, on the free subscription. And on auto arming modes, those automatic features aren't always on continually. but it's not recording all the time. It's on a live stream, so you can connect to the app and view it that way, but it's not continually recording. To get the recordings, then you have to use the motion detection modes. So when one of those two triggers, I think it believes it records for a minute after an audio or a motion detection trigger. Unless, which is the reason I've gone for the SD cards, you have an SD card in the slot, and then it is continually recording in a loop, and then when the SD card's full, it erases the oldest footage. The images or the video it takes when it is recording from a detection, that is hosted on the Amazon cloud service for 14 days. I think from there you can then take that bit of footage off and save it to your phone or whatever, or after 14 days it's automatically deleted. So it's probably not the best option unless for a security if the vehicle's stolen, but if you want to see what's going on inside the van, or for emotion, or for anyone who has a dog and want to keep an eye on it, keep an eye on your dog if you leave them in the vehicle, that would be a good way to log into the app and just remotely view the cameras to see what's going on. Right, let's get one of them installed. All being well, I should know, I should slide in there. There we go. So I want to go for this mount, I want to have it pointing back, but also means if I don't want it at all, I can just tuck it away, up like that, out of the way. I'm just going to switch to my iPhone, just because it's quite a tight camera angle. So the minute we have this camera which points back, looking over here, so I can see the majority of the van, and I'm going to have this camera right about here, looking across to sort of the driver, and the front window and side window, just to record any interaction which may happen, which would ever want to use if I was in the van. And I am actually going to use that power port on the back of here. As opposed to running another cable, I'm going to use a shorter cable, run it up here, through this gap here, and out over there. So let's get running some wire. So currently in the app at the minute. I'm sorry if any of the audio goes a bit weird, because sometimes this phone causes the audio on the mic to go a bit weird. We're going to set the camera up on the bench just because it's a bit easier to control everything. I'm just going to plug in a USB I've got on the wall. I didn't actually know that this is now doing audio feedback. Right, we've got a yellow light turn on. So instructions are: wait for the yellow light to turn on. Makes a bunch of clicker noise. When it's flashing, I have to hit the setup button and hold it for 3 seconds, which is on the bottom, and it should go into setup mode.
Ready to connect.
And now I think it's mostly just app-based stuff.
Ready to connect.
Add device, smart camera. Something to point out is these cameras only work on 2.4 gigahertz Wi-Fi. Some people's Wi-Fi will... I'm speaking. Some people's Wi-Fi is going to be both bands, so 2.4 gigahertz and 5 gigahertz. In my van, I split them into both bands because I have different items connected to some, so you have to connect to a 2.4 gigahertz Wi-Fi band. Get started. LED, ports, flashes. You got to enter your Wi-Fi name. I spent ages figuring out how to get this to work. Turns out, don't click here. This doesn't do anything for your login information. You've got to click actually in the text box. So I'm just going to type in my Wi-Fi login off screen.
Ready to connect. Ready to connect.
So typed in my Wi-Fi login and password. Connect.
Ready to connect.
I've got to press and hold that setup button again, and I should hear it.
Ready to connect.
I should hear it say something different. I've heard ready to connect. Now next you've got to show the camera that QR code. Might help if I take the film off the lens.
Ready to
I heard QR code scanned. Now it's just set up the next section.
Setup completed.
So I'm going to go get this installed in its proper place now. Right, if anyone wants a story of this giant bolt, that went through a BF Goodrich KO2 tyre. Right, let's play around with the cable a bit and get that adjusted. First off, it's upside down because the camera's mounted upside down, but that isn't actually an issue at all. We can just click on the cog and we can go to rotate image. And it's flipped. Right, now let's get the positioning correct. So I'm just going to put the SD cards in. As I said earlier, the SD cards will then have the camera continually recording and overwrites the oldest footage, but you can't at the moment view the footage on the SD card from the app. It says it's down as a future update. Okay, I don't really know what that means. I'm going to have to adjust the cameras all over again. Right, so pretty happy that's the camera's mounted and played with, and I'm going to come back this evening when it's dark and just show a little bit of footage of when the infrared's turned on to set for their night vision modes. So the camera's currently in IR mode, and I'm just going to flick on the lights and you'll see it switch back to normal. Off again. Would have been nice if the images were live, but to get a live image you have to click on it and then for it to connect. For arming and disarming the camera, you can just swipe up at the top and that does it manually. Otherwise, if you're in a stationary environment, you can set the GPS for the cameras, which is a locked position, and when the phone moved away from it, that would then arm the cameras. When the cameras are armed, the automatically records 15 seconds of footage once it hits a trigger. And then when it's had that trigger, you get a notification on the phone, and then you can look down at a drop-down menu and see all those triggers, which would be a 15-second clip. Here's an example of somebody who walked past the van earlier and triggered it off. You can also change the sensitivity for that as well. So it appears to be using, just for one of them, about 0.3 amp at 4.7 volt, and that's at night with the IR on. When I tested it early in the day, it was using about 0.3 amp at the same voltage. So let me just quickly work out the wattage for that. So just did a quick calculation. When it's at 4.8 volt, which is what that meter's reading, when the IR is on, it's 0.4 amp, and when the IR is off, it is 0.3 amp. So when it's off, that works out 1.44 watts, and when the IR is on, it works out about 1.92 watts. So generally, wattage-wise, pretty low usage. So overall, pretty happy with the camera so far. Some people might be concerned about privacy issues with them, especially since of their cheaper price, and I think the background behind the company, Neos SmartCam, seems to be a rebrand of a Chinese firm. But in my case, I'm only really using them from away from van security. I'm going to put a little on-off switch in line on the USB. So I'm actually in the van, I can also turn the cameras off if I don't want them on at all, and then when I'm away I can have the cameras turned on. So in that sense of sort of security and privacy, I'm not particularly worried. Not that I think anyone is particularly wanting or watching or wanting to see what I get up to. One of the things I would have liked to see feature-wise maybe in the future is that I can view the SD card footage from the app. I know it says it's potential future upgrade, but I think it's been said that for a long time now. And I would like if I could look in the actual app screen and see the feeds live, opposed to having to just see a thumbnail of the previous time I looked at it and then have to click on it to get a live view. Apart from that, I'm pretty happy for the amount I paid for them. I think they're great for remote monitoring the van when I'm not in it if I want to. If you want to purchase any of those or purchase the mount itself, go on my Amazon link, which I'll put below, and you'll be able to buy them there, and I'll get a few quid from that. But once again, thank you very much for joining me, and I'll see you next time. Feel free to subscribe, like if you've enjoyed the content. Bye.